another year, but I had to really pull strings. But I think the situation's getting rougher and rougher. If you see this movie Expelled, you get a pretty good idea where we're headed. And do not look to the courts for solution. You're not going to get it. You will not. If I can save some people some time, energy, money, and anxiety, don't even think about going to the courts to critique evolution or to teach intelligent design or to consider creation. I mean, it isn't going to happen. Courts are part of the problem, not part of the solution. You have to do an end run. You literally have to teach your kids and your grandkids and your great-grandkids and your nieces and nephews. You need to muster the resources and answer the questions they'll have and get them ready before they go into the universities, because I'll tell you, having spent my whole life in the university, if your kids aren't ready when they get there, we're going to eat them for breakfast. I mean, it's just unrelieved. You spend $130,000 to send your student to Cornell to have someone like Provine in biology be their professor, who absolutely denies even human free will, says we're all just chemical machines doing what chemical machines do. And I wish I could say the Christian schools were always better, but they're not. You really have to be careful even of the Christian schools. My current recommendation for families with young people going off to college is, first of all, get them ready to face the world. And then, unless you got a lot of disposable income, send them to your local state university. They'll pretty much have to accept it if they're getting taxpayers' money. And it's usually big enough your son or daughter can kind of hide in the system and not get too exposed. And they'll find lots of other like-minded students to interact with. But you put them in one of these little private outfits where you're right out in the open and exposed, and I don't care if they call it Christian. I wouldn't have lasted 10 weeks at Wheaton College. Yeah.
Do you see any indication that because of this strong bias that you're talking about, that in some ways it's maybe actually dumbing down our country?
Oh, there's no question about that.
Because they can't handle anything other than what they've been fed?
We're basically telling the students, you're not here, at least up through high school, you're not here to think, you're not here to be critical, you're here to get this information we're giving you, and on the exam we'll ask you what this information was we were giving you, and you will give this back to us, and we will be able to show in the standardized tests that we have taught this aliquot or unit of information. I'll tell you, one of the biggest thrills a student can have, I know because I've done it a few times and I've gotten into the schools, is get across the point of view that they actually can make decisions for themselves. That they can actually take ideas that come from famous scientists and experts, and they can actually adjudicate it or evaluate it themselves. I mean, let's face it, your physician knows more about health than you do if you're not a physician, and yet you have the right to decide whether he's leading you into something that you don't think is right or not. You don't have to go by what your physician says. Now, if you're going to continue to pay him money, you might as well go along with what he says, otherwise leave, get somebody else. But students actually appreciate having the opportunity to think for themselves. If I taught biology today in the high school, I would actually bring in original papers. Instead of just reading all the time some distilled, teach the student how to tackle a paper and read what the original authors say, look for observer bias, look for the materials and methods, see if it can be interpreted, the data, in some other way, or whether it can only be interpreted as the author interprets it. I mean, I'd start out with Mary Schweitzer's paper on how to tell male from female dinosaurs. Okay? How long would it take the students to realize one dinosaur, one bone from one dinosaur was used to write this paper? Anyone see any problems so far? I mean, teach them to think critically, to actually see that papers being written by famous authors can have some pretty weak components, and they should begin to wonder why they're able to be published. Learn to think critically. Remember the hippies all used to wear a button that said, "Question authority"? If I taught biology, I'd have one of those buttons on. Question authority. not your father and mother, not the government, what have you. This is scientific authority. You have a right to run it through your own sieve. American Civil Liberties Union may hate it, but you have a right inside your own brain to. Now, they should be respectful. Obviously, experts know more than you do, but still, experts can be dead wrong, particularly when you get into speculative areas like evolution. Anything else? Well, we've talked your ear off. If you've got any other questions, you can come by here as I'm putting things away. Otherwise, I just want to thank you for inviting me out. This is always one of my favorite visits, coming out here to speak to this organization. This one and the one in Pittsburgh are always a lot of fun, and you have a little bit more background you bring to the issue than most of my audiences, and that makes it more fun. We thank you.